I know it has been a while since we have had class. It has been a while since we have talked about Tale of Despereaux. I have missed you guys terribly. One more week of testing, and we will be back together as a class. Yippity skippity. I don't know about you guys, but I am definitely ready for it. So, but you guys have rocked the test. I'm so proud of y'all. So, I know a couple of you guys have your test this week. So, be on the lookout for your text message morning of. Other than that, you guys are done. Tuesday, you have your Tale of Despereaux, either unit test or you'll do your choice board, whichever one you want to do, you'll have that to complete. Remember, if you're going to do the choice board, you'll do that in Nearpod. If you're going to do the tests, you'll just do that in the OLS. If you need the updated, if you've forgotten where the Nearpod link is for the choice board, just send me a quick email and I will send that to you. With that being said, we're going to go over the comprehension questions for Tale of Despereaux. You're probably like, Miss Smith, you said I didn't have to do those. They were just to help me focus my brain. You're right. I did say that. We're just going to focus our brain and we're going to talk about these questions. And if you have any, it'll hopefully focus your brain a little bit more. And then whichever you decide to do, if you're going to do the choice board, it'll help you with that. Or if you do the unit tests, it'll help you focus your brain with that. So let's get started. Tale of Despereaux by Kate DiCamillo, Comprehension and Study Guide. Boop, boop. So our cast of characters, we have the jailer, Miggery or Midge, the Princess Pea. We have Despereaux, Botticelli. Mildred just came in case anyone was asking. Roscuro, who changed his, Charusco, who changed his name to Roscuro. So, those were our cast of characters. So, if you noticed, our book was Tale of Despereaux was broken up into 4 books, technically 5, because the coda is like a review, a closing, wrapping it up into a nice, neat little chapter, or nice, neat little present, if you want to say. So I always say 5 because coda is kind of like its own little book. So we have A Mouse is Born. That was the first one. Charuso. That was book 2. Book the 2nd. Book the 3rd. Gore, the Tale of Marjorie So. And that was book the 3rd. Book the 4th. Recalled to the Light. And then coda would be your 5th. So why did Kate DiCamillo do this? Let's understand the why. She broke the story up into smaller books to help us as readers understand each of the characters' sides of the story and how they all fit together into one neat little, it's not one little, but one big story. In each book, we focus on a different character's journey. So we focus on Despereaux's journey in the first one, Roscuro's journey in the second one, Midge, in the third, and Princess Pea's in the fourth. And that coda is tying it up into a nice, neat little package. This way, we are able to understand the whole story from each character's perspective or their points of view. It makes it easy for us to understand why the characters do what they do. Like, why does Roscuro want revenge? Or why does Midge dream of becoming a princess? By the end of Tale of Despereaux, we see how all of the character stories come together, just like the pieces of a beautiful puzzle. So let's dive a little bit deeper into Tale of Despereaux. So if you remember back to, sorry, my arm's itching. The original comprehension questions, I had them divided up into just chapters. So I had chapters 1 through 15. So we're going to do book the first, and then we'll go through the questions. So book the first, A Mouse is Born. So what are some like the important pieces of that? Despereaux, we really are introduced to Despereaux. Sorry, the sun is starting to shine in my eyes. We're really introduced to Despereaux. He's a small, curious mouse who loves music and books. He's not like the other mice. He's totally different. he falls in love with Princess Pea, and which is something that mice are totally forbidden to do. So we learn like he's not like the other mice. He is totally different. And because of that, he allows not only Princess Pea to touch him, he allows the king and Princess Pea to hear him talk, and his brother turns him in. Yes, not a friend, not a kind brother. And he's brought to before the Mouse Council. The Mouse Council thinks Despereaux's behavior is dangerous and banish him to the dungeon. So, what is one important quote from book first that I think is important? So, this is my opinion. I think you must be brave. Brave mouse, you must be sure of your heart. And we see this quote from chapter 10. So, why did I think this quote was so important? I think it's important because it really sets the theme for the entire book. It sets the theme of what Despereaux was wanting to do. He wanted to be that brave knight because he loves fiction. He loves like a Once Upon a Time. We saw in earlier, like he was reading that one he loved fairy tales. He read that one fairy tale and would put his fingers on the words Once Upon a Time. So he kind of like idolized, if you want to think about that word, like knights, brave knights. He wanted to be the hero of his own story in a lot of ways, but he had to really learn what bravery was. Like, it's more than just being a brave knight. Like, ta-da! It was more than that. He had to find his reasons for being brave. So it really started to set the theme for the entire story. So in the beginning, it was like, I will be brave for Princess Pea. Did he know what that meant? In the beginning, probably not so much. He was like, as he's being thrown into the dungeon, he's like, perfidy and for Pea, I'm going to the dungeon. But did he know what bravery meant? No, but as we see throughout the story, as the story unfolds, we learn as he's learning what bravery really means. The next one, it shows that he's becoming a hero. Not because he's perfect, because we see he's not. Like, he faints, he makes mistakes, but because he's willing to be brave for what he believes in. And then we see that real bravery is when you follow your heart, when you follow what you believe in, even when you're scared. So Despereaux was not like, I'm brave, I'm not scared at all. I am totally brave at all times. No, he was scared. Like, he fainted. Remember that. He fainted. There was a scaredy cat. Scaredy mouse. He was scared, but he was still brave. He was still willing to do what he believed in. So we see that he might be tiny, but he has a heart. His heart is huge. And and that's what makes him a real hero. He's going to do what he believes in for Princess Pea. So what are the questions that we had? So the first page, before I have the other stuff, we had chapters 1 through 8. Not was. Why is Despereaux different from the other mice? So he was different in the way that he looked. Remember, he had the really big ears, the big eyes. He didn't act the way typical mice acted. He loved music. He loved light. Remember, the first thing he did was he looked at the light when he was born. That's not what normal mice do. I don't know if they really, especially in the book, I really wouldn't know in like real life. I'm not just like going out looking at mice in real life. So I wouldn't know. But he also reads books. The next question was, sorry, I just had a total like mind spiral on that thought. What does the author want us as readers to understand about Despereaux in chapters 1 through 8. And so this is really my thought process and what I'm inferring of what the author wants us to understand. You might have a similar answer. You might have a completely different answer. The one thing that when you're being asked what does the author want us to understand, as long as you're going back, you're finding your text evidence, the answers can vary. So, but as long as you're going back and you have a reason for answering that way. So my answer is the author wants us to understand that Despereaux is unique. He's not like the others. And he is brave because he follows his heart. So that's what I believe that the author wants us to understand. Why do the other mice think Despereaux's behavior is dangerous? Remember, they believe his love for humans, for Princess Pea, and stories. Remember, he loved the library. Will attract danger to all the mice. And a quote from this was Despereaux telling, "You will get us all killed." And so it could go either way. They really didn't explain why they believe that. It could be like, you've revealed that you can talk. You've let the humans touch you. So either they're going to love you and they're all going to want to come and see if we can all talk, or they're going to all hate you and they're going to see that we can talk and they're going to want to get rid of us all. So it could go either way. Like, they're going to want us all as pets, which isn't good for mice either, or they're going to think the mice can talk. We have an infestation of mice in our castle. We need to get rid of the mice. So either way, the mouse council was like, this is not good. We need to really get rid of Despereaux now that he has revealed himself. And our final question on this page was, what do Despereaux's actions tell about his personality? So his actions at that moment were to show that he was brave, but he was also hopeful, and he doesn't let fear control him. Now, I mean, there could be some different answers. I can't wait to read or hear what your answers are, because I mean, like, he did faint, but he ultimately did follow those people. I have the words in my head. Oh my goodness. Where is it? Hang on. The Threadmaster. Oh, he followed the Threadmaster. Even his brother was part of those. Can you imagine? I mean, don't get me wrong. There are times that my sisters and I didn't get along, but I don't think they would have ever carried me to the dungeon. All right, so then we have chapters 9 through 15. This was still part of book the first. How does the author show how important stories are to Despereaux? We see that Despereaux loved fairy tales and dreamed about being a brave knight. Remember what I was saying before, like he would put his he would trace the words once upon a time. So in the beginning, different story. Use your brain, Miss Smith. What can you infer about the Mouse Council based on how they treat Despereaux? So what do we see? What inferences can we make about how they treat him? We can see that they value tradition and they fear change. They value tradition. It says that they've done this for so long. Nothing has changed, which shows they value tradition. And they do not like change. They don't want humans to even though they live in a human's castle, they don't want humans to interact. But they also don't want humans, or they don't want Despereaux to act the way he does. They don't like the way Despereaux acts, the way Despereaux acts. Furlough, I hope I'm saying his name right. Every time Despereaux acts a certain way, Furlough goes, whoops. Like, he's completely frustrated by the way Despereaux acts. His brother's the one who turned him in, which shows they fear the change of Despereaux. Like, Despereaux acting the way he does is a change from the normal, everyday thing. So what can we infer by Furlough, Despereaux's dad calling the Mouse Council? They value tradition. They like things being done the exact same way, and they do not like change. And then how quickly they were to punish Despereaux. So they weren't like, all right, Despereaux, if you do it again, then we're sending you to the dungeon. No, it was like, you're learning your lesson right now. You're going now. This was his first time ever letting a human touch him. This is his first time really ever interacting with a human, and he goes to the dungeon. So it was that quick. They sent him to the dungeon. I don't think he even really ever knew the rules before. So what is the key idea behind Despereaux's punishment? They believe that they must protect all mice by banishing him. And so by sending him to the dungeon, it would protect all the others. So there was no other, it wasn't like, you're going to get a warning this time. Like, you'll go to timeout this time. Like, you don't go to the dungeon, you'll just like go to your room. No, they believed if I do this, you go now, we protect everyone else. So, what text evidence can we use to explain Despereaux's feelings during the trial? We know he feels scared. We know he feels betrayed. How would you feel if your brother turned you in and your father was one of the ones that was making that deciding vote? In this, I want to say it was chapter 10. It says, like, towards the end of chapter 10, right after they announced his sentence, it said Despereaux's small heart, I should say Despereaux's small heart sank, not Despereaux's small heart, all the way to the tip of his tail. Sorry, I was missing the word sank. So, I mean, how would you feel? Like, you're scared. I mean, so when your heart's sinking, like, think about, like, if you're, like, ever been, like, on a swing, you're going, like, when you're going up and then down, like, that pit that you feel like that's kind of like your heart sinking. You're going to a dungeon. That's like scared, like your heart sinking. So that was my text evidence of how I thought. I would love to hear what you have. So now we have book the second, Charuso or Roscuro. So he's born with the name Charuso, and then he changes it to Roscuro. So Roscuro, the rat, loves the light, which is very unusual for rats, which he has something in common with Despereaux, sorry. After falling in the queen's soup and causing her death, he feels ashamed but bitter. And why does he feel bitter? Well, he feels bitter because of the way the Princess Pea looked at him after that. So Roscuro decides to get revenge on Princess Pea and blaming her for his sadness. An important quote that I found from book the second: there's nothing sweeter in this sad world than the sound of someone else asking the question you cannot ask. So, and I'll get to that question in a second. And you might know what the question is also, because you should have read this entire book. If you didn't read it with just your eyes, you should have been reading it with your eyes and your ears from that link that I sent you. So what is important about this quote? So this moment happens when Roscuro realizes that he is desperate to belong, but he feels too ashamed and hurt to ask for love and forgiveness himself. So this is because of what happened when he fell into the soup. The queen died. Yes, did he intentionally cause the queen to die? No, she died of shock. Was Princess Pea mad at him? No, she was hurt. Her mom just passed away. But did Roscuro understand the look that she was giving him? No, she was just like, my mom. And so but Roscuro wasn't, he's just thinking like, she hates me. So the quote was, hearing someone speak the words he wishes he could say makes him feel seen and understood, even for just a moment. And that word, the question was, why must everything be so terrible? And that is what Princess P was asking her father, the king. He wanted to ask that. He felt that. Why must everything be so terrible? Before he fell into that soup that one time, things weren't bad. Like, he was a rat. Like, yeah, rats are ratty things. But he was a good rat. Like, in the world of rats, he was a rat. He was a good rat. But after that, he became the bad rat. He was hurt because he felt embarrassed. He felt like everyone hated him because the queen died. And then he ran away. It shows how lonely and sad Roscuro was deep down inside. He was not just evil or mean. He was brokenhearted. So, yes, he did bad things after the queen died. And it doesn't excuse the bad things he did. But he did bad things because he wanted other people to feel as bad as he felt. Does not excuse doing bad things. But once we kind of understand why he does the bad things, it's like, well, if he just would have talked to someone, maybe he wouldn't have been so bad, don't you think? I don't know. I would love it if we were in class this week so we could talk it out. It shows, wait, I just read that one. It helps us understand Roscuro as more than just the villain, the bad guy. He's a character that was shaped by that pain and rejection. So the rejection was like that look that because he and Princess Pea kind of like had a friendship at one point. So that look that Princess Pea gave him was that rejection of like, get away from me. I don't ever want you around. And that's not what she meant. She was going through a deep, deep hurt at that moment, but he didn't get that. And so the pain and rejection that he felt was, he's like, oh, kind of like, think about it like your siblings. If one of your brothers or sisters, I'm trying to think of a good one. If they accidentally step on your toe, and they don't mean to, but they do, and it hurts. And you kind of want to hurt them back, right? They didn't mean to step on your toe, but it hurt. They stepped on it like with their soccer cleat, and you don't have any shoes on, and it's like, ow to the ow, ow, ow. And now your foot is just hurting. And they really didn't mean to, but you're in a lot of pain. And so you just want to let them feel the amount of pain that you were feeling. And so you go and you're like, I'm just going to pull your hair. So you will feel the pain I'm feeling. You mean to hurt them when they didn't really mean to hurt you. But you were like, now we're both hurting. That's kind of how Roscuro was feeling. Pea didn't mean to hurt him. She was going through something that was actually kind of his fault. Like, he didn't mean to fall from the ceiling that time. He didn't mean to kill her mom. I'm not laughing about that, but it happened. But she looked at him like, you killed my mom. And he felt embarrassed. He felt ashamed. And then he wanted to hurt her back. So it also explains why Roscuro turns to revenge, not because he's completely bad, but because he doesn't know how else to deal with all the sadness. It shows a major theme in the book. Hurt people sometimes hurt others, but they still are capable of change, because if you've read your entire book or you're wrapping it up, you will see there is a change. So, how does the author describe Chorizo or Roscuro to help us understand him? We see that he is a rat that is curious, or he's interested in light, which, like Despereaux, is not normal. What is the author's purpose in telling us his backstory? It helps us understand why he is lonely, sad, and angry. It helps us get that understanding. Like, oh, he's not just the bad guy. There is a reason why. Use text evidence to show how Roscuro is different from other rats. So he is fascinated by light. He's really interested in light, like Despereaux. It's not just the darkness. So rats love darkness. Like mice love darkness too. Rats apparently love it. I don't know much about mice. I really don't know much about rats. So it's not just the darkness that he is drawn to it. So drawn to the light. He's hungry for it. A lot like Despereaux. What can we infer about Roscuro's love of light? Because he longs for it. He wants it. Because he longs for something better. He wants something better in his life than just the darkness of the dungeon. He wants to get out of that dungeon because that's where he lived. I mean, at least Despereaux lived in the walls. He could see the light as like he's like scurrying through. Roscuro, no, never. He longed for that. It's like, think of like your most favorite meal or like your most favorite treat. And sometimes after a while, you're like, I'm trying to think of like one thing I really love to eat. Banana pudding. Peanut butter and jelly. Banana pudding or peanut butter and jelly. After a while, I'm like, I really want banana pudding or peanut butter and jelly. And if I don't get it, I'm like, I need to have some. What's your thing I just need to have that. You're like, you beg your mom, you beg your dad, you beg your aunt, your uncle, whoever. Could you please get me that? Maybe it's like sour gummy worms or something like that. You beg to have that because you haven't had it in like a year. Like, can I please have it? You long for it. That's what longing is. Like, you really, really want it. Or it's someone you want to see. You haven't seen them in a long time. Your heart wants to see them. And you just want that. That's how he was about the light. He just needed to see that. So what key idea do these chapters show? So we're now in chapters 24 through 29. What key ideas do these chapters show about Roscuro's feelings towards the princess. So he both admires her and resents her. So he likes her. He thinks when we think of admire, it's more than just like, I like you, I think you're cool. It's like, I think you're a good person. And then resents her, it's like, I don't ever want to see you again. You hurt me. Like, dude, like, you stepped on my foot with your cleat on. So he admires her. He thinks she's a good person, but she also hurt him deeply. So and why does he admire her? She lives in the light. So she lives like upstairs, not in the dungeon, in the castle. But she also represents lightness through her kindness. However, because of the way she looked at him that day, after he fell into her mom's soup, that rejection, that like, who killed my mom? He resents her. So he admires her because she lives in the light and she represents light through kindness. So he remembers how she was kind to him before, and he sees that kindness. He's heard about her kindness, how it's continued throughout the years. But so he admires that, but then he also resents her for the way that he feels like she treated him. Why does Roscuro get angry? What clues from the story help you understand his actions? He feels rejected. He feels embarrassed after the queen's death. So he feels like, because of how she looked at him, like, obvious, he was embarrassed. They're not going to be best friends. Like, let's go swing on the swings now for a couple of days. And I'm sure Princess Pea would have been like, after a few months, been like, where's my buddy Roscuro? But for a while, she had to, like, she was upset. Not her feelings were hurt, but like, she was upset. She lost her mom. So, but because she was upset, he felt rejected. He was embarrassed because he was one who caused that. What might the author want readers to learn about forgiveness or revenge in this part of the book? Holding on to hurt can lead to more sadness, but forgiveness is powerful. So what Roscuro was doing was holding on to so much hurt. And when he was doing that, it was just bubbling up inside, and it was making him a really bad rat. And we see, when we go to book the third, how bad he was becoming and how that could hurt other people. But when you are willing to forgive and accept forgiveness and let go of the hurt, it is powerful. It is freeing. And it is something that helps you grow, and helps you learn to give forgiveness to others as well. So, use text evidence to explain how the princess reacts to Roscuro. So she was horrified and afraid of him. She looked at him as if he were something horrible. And it's kind of like, well, you just fell into my mom's soup. I mean, how did you expect her to act at that very moment? Now, give it a month, she probably would have been like, my friend, you're back. But in that moment, that was her reaction, and Roscuro held on to that one moment, and he just let that bubble up inside. So we are now on to book the third, Gore, the Tale of Marjorie So. So this was chapters 30 through 35. So Miggery. I always want to say Marjorie. Mildred. So Miggery So, or Midge, dreamed of becoming a princess because she had a hard life full of unfairness. She is tricked by Roscuro into helping kidnap Princess Pea, thinking she will replace her. And not only did she think that, Roscuro told her that. Midge's dreams show how deeply she wished for a better life. So we see throughout these chapters how bad Midge's life was. She lost her mom at a very young age. So she did have something in common with Princess Pea. But that's really where the commonality, I think in a lot of ways, they both were naive. Naive means you trust people very easily. But those are really where the commonalities, like if we're thinking about it like as a Venn diagram, that's really where the commonalities end. So Midge lost her mom at a very young age. She lived with her uncle, who was horrible to her. He hurt her so much that she lost hearing in one ear. She had to she was sold by her father. I'm reading it right now. So she was sold by her father. Her uncle hurt her, and then she ended up having to work the rest of, not the rest of her life, but up until the point we were introduced to her with hard labor. I mean, when this book was written, like the time period, you were a servant, like you're scrubbing floors, even if you're a child. That's hard labor. So the quote from book the third that I thought was pretty important was, and hope, like love, a ridiculous, wonderful, powerful thing. We saw this quote from chapter 24. Why did I feel like this quote was important? It shows how Midge dreams of a better life. She hopes for it. She daydreams about it, for goodness sake. Even though life had been unfair and unkind to her, she just hoped for it. Maybe next time, maybe tomorrow it'll be different. Miggery dreamed of becoming a princess. Even Miggery's dreams of becoming a princess seemed silly to others, but to her, hope was powerful. Even though she's poor, mistreated, and not fancy like a real princess, Midge holds onto hope because it gives her strength and keeps her believing that something better could happen. This also helps explain why she's easily tricked by Roscuro, because her heart wants to believe that there is something good waiting for her. So it shows that naive belief, naive tendency, like, yeah, that rat is going to help me. Along with forgiveness and love, hope is one of the strongest lessons that we as readers learn in this story. It reminds us that even when life is hard, hope is still beautiful and important, even if it seems impossible. So here are our questions for book the third, chapters 30 through 35. Why do you think the author introduces Miggery So, Midge, in this part of the book? So my feelings are to show us hope and hardship shape people's dreams. So that hope and all of the hard things that happened to her kind of helped shape those dreams. So maybe even if all the other bad things happened, but her mom was still there, maybe she wouldn't be dreaming about being a princess. Maybe she'd be dreaming about becoming a, I don't know. I'm trying to think about like what a girl would have dreamed about becoming back in that time. An author, a book writer. That would be a book writer too, Trisha. Miss Smith. A seamstress. But she's maybe still would have been a princess. Who would know? But it shows like the different things that happen in your life shape how the dreams, the things you want to happen. So, what can we infer about Miggery's life before she became? She didn't become a castle. She came to the castle. It's been a long day. She had suffered a lot of loss in her life. A lot. She had lost her mother. Her uncle treated her badly and hurt her to the point that she had lost her hearing, and she had lived in poverty. So the inference is she had suffered a lot, and then the evidence is the things that happened. Use details from the text to describe Miggery's dream and how it affected her actions. She dreams of becoming a princess. And because of those dreams of becoming a princess, it caused her to believe the things that Roscuro told her and why she decided to help him. What does the author want us to understand about Midge's character? The author wants us to understand that she is hopeful but naive. She's easily tricked because she's desperate. She just wants to be loved so badly. And then we come to the last part. Book the fourth, Recall to the Light. I just included the coda in this because I got tired. I really did. I'm not going to lie. Miss Smith got tired. So Recall to the Light. So we see in this section, Despereaux, Midge, and Roscuro's paths cross in the dungeon. So they all kind of meet together in the dungeon. Despereaux' true colors show true. Despereaux shows true courage, not by fighting, but by forgiving and understanding the others. And everyone changes. Roscuro finds peace. Midge finds kindness, and Despereaux saves the princess. So, what important quote did I find in book the fourth? So, for me, it was forgiveness, reader, is, I think, something very much like hope and love, a powerful, wonderful thing. And that was in chapter 33. Thinking about this quote and who said it wasn't a character, actually. It was the narrator of the book, and they are wrapping it up. And they're wrapping up the most important. I never even got this far in my recording. Sorry, we're just going to go with it. And they're wrapping up the most important thing, and that is the thing in the story, like kind of like the bow, and that it is forgiveness. By this point in the story, each of the four main characters have been hurt, made huge mistakes, but instead of choosing anger, revenge, or punishment, they each made the active choice to forgive, just like they chose hope and love earlier in the story. Forgiveness heals the broken relationship between the characters. It allows Roscuro to find peace, Midge to find forgiveness, Midge to find kindness, and Despereaux and Princess Pea to move forward without anger. Without forgiveness, the story would have stayed stuck in sadness and revenge. So, chapters 30 through 40. How do Despereaux's choices show how much he's grown? He chooses bravery and action, not fear. So he's not passing out. He's like, let's go. He's taking that active role of like, I will go and fight. What is the author's message about doing the right thing even when it's hard? What clues does the author give about Despereaux's determination? True heroes face challenges for others' good. It wasn't just about becoming a knight. Remember, he wanted to be that brave knight. But in the end, he realized, yeah, it's not just about that. It's about what is good. Like, I have to do what's right, and not just about becoming the knight. Use text evidence to describe how Despereaux prepares for his mission. He finds a sewing needle as a sword and prepares to go alone. Despereaux drew the needle from his sheath, so it's like the sword holder, and sheath of thread and held it high. All right, so then we have chapters 41 through 46. What key ideas connect Despereaux, Midge, and Roscuro in these chapters? They all feel broken and are looking for love, hope, and forgiveness, and which they all find. What lesson do you think the author is trying to share about understanding others? Everyone has a hidden pain that we don't see, that helps to explain why they act the way they do. So kind of like, we don't understand why people do what they do, so treat people with grace. Use text evidence to show how the characters' feelings are changing. Despereaux forgives, Midge feels regret, and Roscuro seeks peace. So I forgot the text evidence. You guys can find that. What can you infer about how the characters will work together in the end? They must forgive and trust one another to move forward. So if they want to get through this, they have to work together. And they have to trust each other. So Midge has to believe that Roscuro is not going to be the bad guy. And Despereaux has to believe that Midge and Roscuro aren't going to like completely betray him and go kidnap Pea again. So they all have to trust each other. And then 47 through Coda, what is the author's purpose in ending the story this way? To show love, forgiveness, and hope leading to healing. What important lesson does Despereaux learn by the end of the book? That forgiveness and kindness is much stronger than fear. Use a detail from the story to explain how Despereaux feels about his adventure. He feels proud, brave, and closer to the light. So he feels much closer to the light than he ever did down in the, or up in the light. So if that makes sense. All right, what can you infer about what will happen to the character after the story ends? I think they find happiness, friendship, and peace. And even though life isn't perfect. So even though like Despereaux is still a mouse, he's gonna take the lessons that he learned and like live a better life. Midge might still be a servant and she's never going to be a princess, but she's found love. She's found friendship. And Roscuro, he's still a rat, but he's found forgiveness, which was what he was wanting. So, and these are just those quotes, and they really just kind of like represented each of their traits. And this recording has gone really long, so I'm not going to go over everything. But if you want to I'll go over this part really quick. So book the first, A Mouse is Born, the main character was Despereaux. The main events, Despereaux loves music, stories, and Princess Pea. He is banished to the dungeon for breaking the mouse rules. The big idea or the theme was courage, being different, and love. Book the second, Charuso or Roscuro. Charuso was the main character. The main events, Roscuro falls into the queen's soup and feels rejected. He plans revenge against Princess Pea. What are the big ideas or the theme? Light versus darkness, hurt, and revenge. Book the third, Gore. The Tale of Miggery. Midge is the main character. Midge dreams of being a princess. Roscuro tricks her into helping kidnap Princess Pea. What are the big ideas or the themes? Hope, dreams, being misled. And finally, book the fourth, being recalled to the light. All for, I'm sorry, I can't count apparently. Despereaux, Roscuro, Midge, and Princess Pea are the main those focus characters, main characters. Despereaux saves Princess Pea. Forgiveness and understanding change everyone. And what are those big ideas or themes? Forgiveness, bravery, hope, and light. So, key story themes for the entire book. Even small characters can be brave. Doesn't even mean if you're a rat or a mouse, a child can be brave. Love, light, and forgiveness are much stronger than darkness and revenge. Understanding others' pain can lead to kindness and healing. So, with that being said, as I said at the very beginning, Tuesday OLS is your unit quiz. If you choose to do that, that is your choice. But you also have your choice board. So, if you choose to do the choice board, if you need the Nearpod for it, let me know. I will send you the Nearpod link for it. But I will quickly go over this. So if you choose this instead of the unit test, pick one activity from each row. So you would have to complete 3 activities. Complete all the activities using text evidence and showing your best effort. This is your chance to show what you've learned in a fun and creative way. So the activities are character detective, what's the big idea, inference challenge, Dear Diary, the tale continues, royal news report, spotlight on style, author's purpose sort, and crafty connection. So you don't have to do all 9. You only have to do 3, but you have to do 1 from each row. So you can't do 1, I guess. I guess if you wanted to do if you want to do all of the top row, that's fine. Or all the bottom. No, you have to do 1 from each row. That's how I set it up. Sorry, there is a method behind Miss Madness at one point in life. Just not today. All right, so character detective. Let's help the author solve the mystery of who these characters really are by using what they said and what you can infer by using text evidence to complete the character file on Despereaux, Roscuro, Midge, and Princess Pea. So you're going to use the text evidence, what they said, the text evidence, and make an inference. What's the big idea? Think about the lesson or theme the author is trying to teach through the story, then find 3 pieces of text evidence that support this idea. We just went over that. Just saying. Inference challenge. Use clues from the text to infer how the character is feeling in different scenes. Support your answer using text evidence. So Despereaux hears music and follows it. Who's the character? Obviously, it's Despereaux. How might they be feeling? Scared, curious, or angry? Text clues that tell you why they're feeling that way. Roscuro watches a princess during the banquet. Who's the character? We know it's Roscuro. How might he be feeling? Happy, left out, or confused? Why do you think she's feeling that way? Midge is told that she can't be a princess. Who's the character? We know it's Midge. How might she be feeling? Sad, excited, or proud? Why might she be feeling that way? Give me text evidence. All right, so this is from the second row. So, Dear Diary, choose a major event from Tale of Despereaux. Write a diary entry from one of the characters' points of view. What would they be thinking or feeling? Use strong emotions and descriptive details and text evidence to help your diary feel real. So let's say that you are Roscuro and you are going to write about the day that you fell into the queen's soup. There you go. Use strong emotions, descriptive details, and text evidence. So you're going to probably talk about like how you felt when Princess Pea looked at you. You're going to have some strong emotions. You're going to use some descriptive details. Maybe you're going to talk about what the soup felt like when you fell into it. The feelings you felt inside when Princess Pea looked at you. All right, and then the tale continues. What do you think happened after the end of Tale of Despereaux? Begin imagining your own short story of what might happen next by developing a story plan. So you don't have to write a story, you just have to develop a story plan. Who would be your main characters? What would your setting be? What would be the problem or conflict? What would be the solution or the ending? And then author's craft you would like to try. And then this is the third row. Royal News Report. Pretend you're a news reporter in the Kingdom of Dor. Create a short script reporting on a major event from the book. Bonus if you record your voice. So, headline, a catchy title, who's involved, people are nosy. What happened? Make sure you spill the tea. Where it happened. Those looky-loos can sorry. I wrote it and I thought it was going to be funny and then I forgot what I wrote. So those looky-loos can go see. Then when did it happen? So the fact checkers can see if you're telling the truth and why is it important. Wrap it all up with a nice, neat little bow. And then spotlight on style. Use two quotes that are shared. With you from the story of Tale of Despereaux, or find two quotes that stand out because of its word choice, how it repeats for impact, or paints a picture in your mind, imagery. Then explain how it adds to the story. So I already have some. I gave you 3. So I gave you word choice, repetition, and imagery. So for word choice, Despereaux did not run. He stood before the mouse council. He stood with his head high and his ears wide open. So that was word choice. Repetition, the queen is dead, the queen is dead, the queen is dead. And then imagery, the dungeon smelled of rats and suffering and hopelessness. So either you can use 2 of those quotes and explain why you think the author chose to use those quotes, or you can go in your book and you can find 2 quotes that represent word choice, repetition, and imagery. Put them in and explain why you chose to use them. Author's purpose sort. Was the author trying to inform, entertain, or persuade? Use text evidence to support your answers. So there's a text clue from, or a quote from the book, identify what the purpose is, and then why this clue matters. Then crafty connections, highlight or underline the powerful words the author used. That would be the author's craft. And then draw a picture to match the quote in the space below. So, or to the side, sorry. The quote, the dungeon smelled of rats and suffering and hopelessness. So, highlight or underline the words that would illustrate the author's craft, and then you can draw. But you have to highlight or underline the words to illustrate the author's craft. With that being said, that is your choice board. Those are your choice board activities. Remember, you have to do 3 activities. To get your 100 points, you have to do 3. Like, completely do them. Like, is it perfect? No, this is going to be your first time doing it. You have to, like, make a good effort, okay? With that being said, I love you all. If you have any questions or if you need that Nearpod link for this choice board again, let me know. I will send that over to you. Pasta to the la pasta. Bye.